lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the presence has brought us, facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory is won.
June 17, 2015. In a church not too different from this one, a man entered, and what preceded, no other word can be used other than a massacre. This is Black history. It's not just the happy moments, but it's the moments that call us together to remember what has happened to Black people in the past, so that as we look back, we remember and we say, never again. In Charleston, I can't imagine what Pastor Pickney, senator, a father, a husband, I can't imagine what the minister may have been thinking. As a man of God, in that moment, what might be going through your head? God calls us to love our enemy. God calls us to love those who persecute us. God calls us to forgive. That was a moment in Black history that we can't forget. And just like that moment, it seems as though the church has often been the place of meeting and rallying together for those who love God and those who are called according to his purpose. But it has also been a place where we come together to unite one another, to encourage and to motivate, to plan, to strategize. In the 1960s, the church was a place where the civil rights movement began and a place where the civil rights movement flourished. Through the speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King and many others, the church was a meeting ground, but it also was a battleground. For those who seek to terrorize the Black community, the church seemed like the best place to do it. Now, I don't tell this story to make us sad, and I don't tell this story to make anyone upset or angry, but I tell this story so that you know that those who are against Black lives take their understanding, take their lessons from what has happened in our past. So just as they take their lessons from what has happened in our past, so we too must do the same. And those who came before us didn't just sit around idly and allow it to happen. They stood up. They rallied together. They effected change. Some people can remember what happened that day. If we go even further back, we can recall a time when the church, as I said, was used as a battleground. Even before what occurred in Charleston, many churches were destroyed and many lives right along with them. Do you remember? Do you remember what happened to those church buildings? Do you remember what happened to those 4 little girls? Do you?
I remember it was one of those hectic days. I had heard Dr. King was down there at the church again, getting all the colored folks stirred up to fight something he was calling oppression. My 2 older children were all excited to go hear Dr. King speak. "Y'all be careful now," I yelled as I turned to finish supper. Then my baby comes running down the stairs, dressed up in her Sunday best, looking like a little angel. She's my namesake, you see. We named her after me.
"Mama, can I go? I want to go too. I want to go hear Dr. King speak."
"Now, Sadie, baby, you know you too young."
"But Mama, just last night you said I was a big girl."
"I know, baby. You are a big girl. Your mama's big girl." I stared into those big brown eyes and couldn't refuse her. I said, "All right, but please be careful. And you 2 older ones, take care of my Sadie, 'cause she's just a baby." I turned to finish supper. You see, I figured the children be starving after marching and all. So I wanted the collard greens, the pinto beans, the fried chicken, and the candy yams all ready for them when they returned. I went to pull the peach cobbler out the oven, and I heard a loud boom. I turned to the window and I saw that the old church was on fire. "Oh Lord, but my babies is in that church." Then the door swung open and there was my 2 older ones and little Johnny from next door and where's Sadie? Where's my baby? Little Johnny from next door said,
"I don't know, Miss Sadie, but I know she okay."
No, Johnny, you got to go back and get my Sadie. Don't you dare come back without my baby." So little Johnny, he left and when he come back, he said,
"Miss Sadie, I looked, but I just ain't seen her."
No, Johnny, you got to go back and get my baby. Don't you dare come without my Sadie. So little Johnny left again and when he come back, he said,
"I'm sorry, Miss Sadie, but I couldn't find her."
No, not my baby, not my Sadie. Lord, have mercy, no. Do you know my baby died of something they was calling oppression? And I didn't even know what the word meant.
Dignity. Deserves justice. Okay. Christine, Charlie, thank you, yes. Black History Month is the celebration of African Americans who have contributed to America's development in some significant way. It's also a time to reflect and to look at the ongoing struggle of racial and socioeconomic equity. This past year, we saw clearly how far we have come and how far we have yet to go to find the balance of what it looks like to be treated fairly in a country like America. This past year, we saw clearly how far we have yet to go for human rights and dignity for all people. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice are the examples of human beings who were tragically and unjustly ill-treated by other human beings. It's disturbing when evil is ever present, and some people do not see or even speak in objection because it has not happened to them. Justice, I think of justice. When I think of God, I think of justice. I think of the God of justice, where Amos said, "But let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an everlasting stream." Justice is the attribute of God that speaks to his holiness. It speaks to who he is, the essence of his character, his person, his nature of being pure, uncontaminated, and separate from the evil of the world. In this sense, this makes God the one and only righteous judge of all the earth. And the spirit by which he judges is just, good, and fair for everyone. This is the spirit that needs to be adopted by all people, as we are people made in the image of God. Over the past year, we have seen the injustice in America revealed. It's shown how important it is to emphasize and speak out against human injustice. We are from one God who has made all of us from one race, the human race, in which we all equally belong with the freedoms and rights that come therein. I remember what Paul was in Athens arguing on the hill of Mars, talking to the Greeks about that God and who that God is, in whom we live, move, and have our very being. Paul said that we are made from one. All nations have come from one, and that one is Adam. From one means Adam, as written in Genesis, "Let us make man in our image and our likeness." Adam is the ancestor of all mankind. God made every nation from one man, Adam. We all come from the same God. And Paul says we are God's offspring. When I think about Dr. King, I think about what he asked in one of his speeches. Where do we go from here? To chaos or community? Looking forward, what kind of voice should Christians have to speak out for racial, social, righteousness, and justice anywhere in the world? What will you or we do to educate, inform, and motivate people to engage? As John Lewis would say, good and necessary trouble. To bring men from the biblical perspective, from God's perspective, to bring men to repentance. Yes, I said repentance. Repentance, because no sinful man can honestly be just. To get there, it's going to require active engagement. Again, in the words of Dr. King, he called on people to engage. As he said, human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Even a superficial look at history, as he stated, reveals that no social advance rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. And he talked about the tireless exertion and passion. But he also said, without effort, time itself becomes an ally of the insurgent and primitive forces of irrational emotionalism and social destruction. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is the time for vigorous and positive action. And so it is that I'm here today to say, in recognition of Black History Month, one thing I want to ask, do you vote, speak out, encourage others to vote and speak out for the cause of change? I hear Amos talking about the nations, the human injustices perpetrated, not only by the Jewish people, but by other surrounding nations. And it tells us that God is universal in his judgment of man's sins against man. He calls out moral, social, and political corruption in Amos's prophecy for divine justice. He called out Syria for their inhumane treatment of captives, with beating them with spikes. He called out Philistia for slave trafficking and Phoenicia for slave trading. He called out Edom, the descendants of Esau, Jacob, Esau, we've been talking about, as perpetual enmity and hatred for their brother. He called the Ammonites out as they ripped up pregnant women as they invaded other countries just so they could expand their borders. Moab is another nation he calls out for burning the bones of someone to make lime, or a people to make lime just because they couldn't kill them themselves. God calls out these injustices. And most importantly, he calls out the people that are supposed to be the people of God for turning against his word, turning against his law, and believing something else, believing lies, believing in idolatry. It's those kinds of things. When we abort the teaching of God, that's when we are left to our own devices. That's when we become inhumane. That's when we become unjust. And that's when we begin to treat other people like they don't deserve to be sharing the same air that we breathe. And so the result of turning away from God and turning to idolatry for Israel, this was their hardness of heart, their immorality, and their disregard for the poor and moral and moral conduct. It sounds like America, the America we live in, the attitude and the way people are thinking about other people and the way people treat other people. But if we're going to get out of this, we need to continue to recognize that God is a just God. And Amos called for justice as God sent him to indict those people who mistreated even their enemies with no human dignity. God addresses injustice everywhere and simply judges it as sin. So it's nothing new. It's nothing new as America prides herself on being a great nation, a beacon of light for the world to imitate. Yes, I've heard the question, is this America? More in recent days than any other time I can remember. The answer is yes, this is America. And yes, America stands judged just like any other country that stands in injustice against God and the people of God. Black History Month is a time for celebration. And yes, I think the church needs to celebrate Black History Month so that we can remind people that it's important to know what other people are suffering. But not only that, so that we can have a voice to speak out from all corners of the faith of Christianity, from all corners of society, from all corners of where we live and where we have life. Call it out and take the time to celebrate Celebrate the changes made that bring us closer to God in our human treatment of one another. Celebrate the name of our holy and righteous God. Celebrate what it means to be Black in America. Celebrate what it means to be an American. Celebrate what it means to be a human being in the spirit of a loving and mighty and just God.
For over 6 decades, Miss Cicely Tyson was an actress who only selected roles which illuminated the humanity of Black people. I would like to read the speech of Aunt Myrtle, who was portrayed by Miss Tyson in Tyler Perry's movie, Medea's Family Reunion. Family reunions are about uniting the family, bringing together the young and old, singing and dancing and thanking God, giving Him the glory, thanking Him for getting us over. As we marched up the road this afternoon, what we saw were young men gambling, fighting, cussing, women with no clothes on, gyrating all over this land. Do you see this shack? The man and woman who were born here gave birth to this generation. They were slaves. They worked this ground, but they bought it from the widow of the slave owner. And that's the kind of blood we have running through our veins. That's the stock we are made of. What happened to us? What happened to us? Who are you? Do you know who you are? What happened to the pride and the dignity and the love and respect that we had for one another? Where did it go? And how? How do we get it back? I'm going to tell you. Young men, take your place. We need you. Your sons and daughters need you. Did you understand what I just said? We were sold off and had no choice. Yes, but now it's time to stay. Take your place now. Starting now. Starting now. Young Black women, you are more than your thighs and your hips. You are beautiful, strong, powerful. I want more from you. Take your place.
I am excited to recognize another Black History Month, although I do try to show my appreciation all year long to those who fought for my rights. I realize that we have come a long way, but I also realize that we have ways to go. After seeing our progress in politics, education, music, art, sports, and in so many other areas, I am hopeful, and I believe that if we just hold on like this song says, then everything will be all right, and we will eventually get to where we should be. Here's some encouragement. Hold on just a little while longer. Hold on just a little while longer. Hold on just a little while longer. Everything will be all right. Everything will be all right. Walk on just a little while longer. Walk on just a little while longer. Walk on just a little while longer. Everything will be all right. Everything a little while longer. Sing on, just a little while longer. Sing on, just a little while longer. Everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. Pray on, just a little while longer. Pray on, just a little while longer. Pray on, just a little while longer. Everything will be alright. Don't worry, my brother and sister. It will be alright.
I am here today before you with Black inventions that people have never heard of. Inventions that help modernize America and the world. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord established their steps." I will start with James Adams, who invented the airplane propelling. A.P. Ashburn, the biscuit cutter. James Bauer, the coin changer. G.E. Beckett, the letterbox. Alfred Benjamin, stainless steel pads. H. Bradbury, the torpedo discharger. Phil Brooks, the disposable syringe. Marie Brown, the home security system. Henry Blair, corn planter and the cotton planter. Susan Boone, the ironing board. L.F. Brown, the horse bridle bit. Oscar Brown, the horseshoe. John Burr, the lawnmower. Burridge and Harshman, the typewriter. R.A. Butler, the train alarm. George Carruthers for the radiation detector. The peanut butter, paints and stains, lotions and soaps, and the automatic fishing reel. George Carl. A.L. Carrell, the ice cream mold. Lafayette printing press. F.W. Leslie, the envelope seal. Lee Leslie, the laser fuels. Maurice Lee, the pressure cooker. A.L. Lewis, the window cleaner. John Love, the pencil sharpener. Tom Marshall, the fire extinguisher. W.A. Martin, the lock. Jan Metzinger, the shoe lasting machine. Eli McCoy, lubricants. Hugh McDonald, the rocket catapult. Alexander Miles, the elevator. The gas mask and the traffic signal. Garrett Morgan. Linda Newman, the hairbrush. Alice Parker, the heating furnace. J.F. Pickering, the airship, known as the blimp. P.W. Pelvis, hand soap. A.C. Richardson, the insect destroyer gun. Now, these inventors did all this when there was racism, discrimination, and just a lot of hate. But they were able to complete their task. In 1 Chronicles 28:20 says, "Be strong and courageous and do the work. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord my God is with you. He will not fail you or forsake you." I have R. Spikes, the automatic gear shift. Dewey Anderson, the urinalysis machine. W. Ditz, the shoe. Joseph Dickerson, the piano player and the record player arm. O. Dorsey, the doorstop, and the doorknob. Catatonia, print wash, and the photo embossing machine. P.B. Downing, the postal letterbox. T. Elkins, the toilet commode. David Fisher, the furniture caster. Robert Flemings, the guitar. George Grant, the golf tee. J. Gregory, the motor. Solomon Harper, the thermal hair curlers. Michael Hanley, the lantern. R.F. Jackson, the gas burner. H.A. Jackson, the kitchen table. Isaac Johnson, the bicycle frame. John Johnson, the wrench. P. Johnson, the eye protector. W. Johnson, the egg beater. The air conditioning unit, 2-cycle engine, the internal combustion engine, the starter generation, the refrigeration controls, all by Frederick M. Jones. Jordan John, the clothes dresser. John Jones, the bottle cap. Latimer and Nicholas, the lantern. Ralph Sanderson, hydraulic shock absorber. John Standard, the refrigerator. T.W. Stewart, the mop. J.B. Withers, the stair climbing chair. Rufus Weaver, the fire escape ladder. The telephone transmitter, the electric cutoff switch, the relay instrument, telephone system, electric mechanical brake, galvanic battery, electric railway system, rose caster, and the auto brake. Ganville Woods. We have Paul Williams, the helicopter, Jerry Johnson, the Sante phone, Lonnie Jordan, the super soaker, Dr. Charles Drew, blood plasma, Augustus Jackson, ice cream, the pacemaker controls, and the guided missile, Otis Boykin. The space shuttle retrieval arm, Joseph Jackson. The video commander, also Joseph Jackson. Adolph Shams, the multi-stage rocket. Okay, I'd just like to say that African American inventors and smart people contribute a lot, not only to the United States, but to the world. And we should celebrate them for what they have done. They have done a lot in adverse situations and came through. And that we can contribute to God for always being there for us all. In Galatians 6:9, Scripture says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap the harvest if we do not give up." And these inventors and smart people did not give up. Thank you.
And I'm Serena, and we're the Williams sisters. It was real tough growing up in Compton. Luckily for us, our dad was Richard Miller, and he was determined to see us succeed.
Dad empowered us with a kind of magic. We had faith and we believed in ourselves.
I am very different from my big sister. I am forceful, vocal, stubborn, and even more competitive. I strive to beat her.
Well, I'm quiet, competitive, and protective over my little sister.
I looked up to my big sister when I was in her favorite car with my favorite car. Her favorite toy was my favorite toy. I wanted to be just like my big sister, Venus.
People would laugh at our dad because we were black. Black people weren't supposed to play tennis.
And they laughed at our dad because we were rich and people felt money weren't supposed to be so big.
They would laugh at our dad because we came from Compton. No tennis champions ever came from such a tough neighborhood.
And they laughed at our dad because it was never one person in the family to become world famous, but two, our mom and dad told us differently. Just wait, our dad would say, you'll see.
Dad empowered us. Dad knew we would become a powerful force that would change the sport of tennis forever.
We had setbacks. I injured my foot. Venus got sick. People are saying our career was over, but we never played.
We both returned to tennis when people are talking again. My little sister can tennis when it's now that Serena is the best. You're the best athlete here.
I don't want to brag, but I do hold the most grand slams and singles, doubles, and mixed doubles combined. On one grand slam, they're called the Serena Slam. I won a grand slam title on hard, clay, and glass.
Hey, forgot to mention that portion of the Grand Slam title we're seeing. We won 4 Olympic medals, 1 in singles women's and 3 in women's doubles. Serena and I are part owners of the Miami Dolphins. We are the first African American woman to own an NFL franchise.
Not too bad for 2 little girls from Compton.
Remember, tennis is just a game.
Family is forever.
I'm speaking today to give recognition to the 49th Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala D. Harris, in the Democratic administration of President Joseph R. Biden. She is the first woman and the first African American to hold the post. Prior to that, she worked as a deputy district attorney from 1990 through 1998 in Oakland, California, earning a reputation for toughness as she prosecuted cases of gang violence, drug trafficking, and sexual abuse. Harris rose through the ranks, becoming district attorney in 2004. In 2010, she was elected Attorney General of California, becoming the first female and the first African American to hold the post. In 2012, Harris delivered a memorable address at the Democratic National Convention, raising her national profile. Widely considered a rising star within the party, she was recruited to run for U.S. Senate. In early 2015, Harris declared her candidacy, and on the campaign trail, she called for immigration and criminal justice reforms, increases to the minimum wage, and protection of women's reproductive rights. She easily won the 2016 election. When she took office in the U.S. Senate in 2017, she became the first Indian American in the Senate and just the second Black woman. Shortly thereafter, Harris announced that she would be seeking the Democratic presidential nomination in 2020. From the outset, she was seen as one of the leading contenders. However, her campaign was in serious trouble and she dropped out of the race. She continued to maintain a high profile, notably becoming a leading advocate for social justice reform. As racial injustice became a major issue in the United States, many Democrats called on Joseph Biden, the party's presumptive nominee, to elect an African American woman as his vice presidential running mate. In August, Biden chose Harris, and she became the first Black woman to appear on a major party's national ticket. In November of 2020, she became the first Black woman to be elected Vice President of the United States. On Inauguration Day, January 20, 2021, Kamala D. Harris, the first woman and the first African American woman, was officially sworn in as the 49th Vice President of the United States of America.
Soon will be done the trouble of the world, trouble of the world, trouble, Lord, of this world. Soon will be done the trouble of the world. I'm going home to live with my Lord no more weeping and wailing no more. Weeping, Lord, and wailing no more. Weeping and wailing. I'm going home to live with my Lord. I want to see my mama. I want to see my mama. I want to see my mama. I'm going home to live with my Lord. Soon will be done the trouble of the world, trouble of this old world, trouble, Lord, of this world. Soon I will be done with the trouble